Well, good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. It's great to be with everyone today. I'm Brian Kalish. I'm principal at Kalish Consulting. I've been working with the folks with Hyperbots for about 2 years now. Here's the next session that we have. Again, it's a great series that we have going, getting some really great insights from really smart people. With me today is John Silverstein. He'll do a little more introduction on himself. But with that, John, you want to just introduce yourself and then we'll kind of just jump right in.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So I'm John Silverstein. I'm the Vice President of Finance at XR Extreme Reach, and I've spent over 20 years in finance roles at CFO of a couple companies, and then also doing finance transformation as a consultant, and now doing transformation at XR.
That's fantastic. So, really, John, it's great to have you back. And I thought maybe, this time around, we'd be exploring Hyperbot's vendor management co-pilot and how it's, really reshaping supplier relationships.
Excellent.
So, just to kind of kick things off, I think one of the questions, and again, I've got the good fortune of traveling around the world and talking to people, and these challenges are truly universal. I mean, one of the things I hear is, why is vendor management still such a challenge for both finance and procurement?
Yeah, there's a number of pain points in the process as you go through the vendor management, and it's the time it takes to even onboard vendors and things. Even at XR, when we're dealing with our customers and stuff on the other side of it, it's near impossible sometimes to get things through fast enough for the companies of what they need to do, particularly in our space where we're in advertising.
Yep.
The onboarding itself, because of approvals and everything, can take days just to get a PO out, even sometimes greater than a month to go through, getting the W-9s, bank letters, certificates. One of our products at even XR actually is because of the length of this process, we actually speed it up for the advertisement of the largest brands in the world. So that's one of the things we do here. The identity and document risk, making sure that there's no gaps, fraud exposure, those types of things are all reality. It's communication and getting it through different teams and who can actually make the payment or who makes the payment versus who approves, and getting through these big bureaucracies, particularly when you're working with the largest brands. It's very difficult. Getting typos and addresses or incorrect ACH or ACH changes that may not even be real. Then you have to confirm all those things, and it takes time. There's also making sure that you have the right evidence scattered in inboxes for audit trails and things like that. Sometimes you have to search all your emails and figure out where things are at in status and everything to actually get things through.
Great. So I think, people that are familiar, what they really want to understand is what exactly is Hyperbot's vendor management co-pilot? Because I think that kind of resonates with people because I think it resonates well when people talk about what a co-pilot is.
Yeah, excellent question. So the Hyperbots Co-Pilot is handling some of these tasks that are sometimes multiple people through these organizations. So that's key, is that you're kind of compounding it and getting other resources besides the resources you currently have and things, but these resources are able to speed up these processes. So for instance, the onboarding of suppliers, it can do in minutes because it collects the data, the docs, it verifies, it follows up, it creates a clean ERP record. So the approvals will actually happen on a timely basis, and you won't have the rejections and then go back through the process multiple times. It also learns continuously. So on each approval or rejection, the expiry update, it trains the next cycle. So the next cycle, it does even better. It also, which this happens a lot when you're in a global company and things, is the time differences and things like that. The Hyperbots Co-Pilot, what it will do, it's alive 24/7. You don't have people alive working 24/7. We all think we do and things, but we do sleep. So it's critical that you have something that can continue the flow and process so you don't waste a day or two just trying to get it through different parts of the world and things like that. So it's always alive with the self-service portal. It tracks the POs, invoices, payments, and receive proactive notifications. So it can notify and react to even communication back and forth. So that's the key with the Hyperbots Copilot.
Yeah, I think that for myself, the two big takeaways is one is the systems learning, right? Because so yeah, we teach a person and they get better, but it's the fact that the entire system, or again, I call it an electronic employee, right? But
Hmm.
every electronic employee learns on a continuous basis. So it's just kind of, I don't even think it's linear. I think it's exponential how much you know
Yeah.
this functionality learns by. And then I
It,
just, I hadn't really thought about the 24/7 component of it, but yeah, it's perfect, right? I mean, yeah, we can have people all over the world, but there's still going to be these disjoints. Whereas, again, as we talk about our electronic employee, right? 24/7, they truly do work 24/7. And like you said, we just feel like we do.
Yep. And it's exponentially and looking at the same things all the time. It's just going to get better, like you said, versus a person has their good days, bad days, things like that too. And you miss things and you don't look at it the same way, or you're tired of looking at the same thing or getting it through the process. This will follow the process. And that's key as well.
And then I guess at an attempt at humor, and then we don't have any HR issues. So
Right.
um, to get a little more technical, how does the Copilot operate really end to end?
Yeah, so the key is the configurable onboarding policy. So it required docs and risk rules by vendor type. So it will go through and in that you'll set up the policy. AI captures and verifies, so it'll extract W-9, COI, the bank proof, the cross checks IRS, sanction lists, those types of things that AI can do and do the verification. Then it sets up the approval workflow. So low risk, auto approve, high risk, it routes to compliance and through the right people. The other ERP vendor master creation, Copilot will post the record and return the ID. So you don't have to wait on that process when you send it to the right person. This can do a lot of these different roles, and it's almost like it's not even just one co-pilot. It's like it has all these different functions that might be within an organization. And it can be tracked and watched too. It's really helping out the process. The automated PO dispatch. So this is key too, because this can take a while. Portal. It has a portal with email and acknowledgement tracking, so you can go through that PO process. Real-time collaboration. Sometimes there's delays just in trying to answer and get things through and emails and all that stuff and chasing. This will chat on a PO changes, invoice disputes, payment queries. It can go through that real time. So you don't have to wait for someone to go research and come back and do those things. This will do the research and come back and give you the query on the payment or a PO change or those types of things, or might even say that there is a needed PO change. Remittance and status alerts. So AI pushes a payment processed or invoice rejected with the notes of why it's rejecting or why it's what's going on with the remittance status. And right now, I can tell you right now, all the time we're chasing remittance, and you can't get it. It's a real problem in all the industries. And then hash chained audit logs. So every field change in doc upload and captured. So that's critical that you have those audit logs and able to track and figure out all the things that are going on there.
Excellent. Again, I think what people are interested in understanding is, from your perspective, what are the hard results that have been, that can be measured, right? Because we can't measure it, we can't manage it.
Yeah, the biggest key is time savings and making sure that things go through and the accuracy. So, one of the big things you can track here and measure is the onboarding speed. Before it takes sometimes 9 days. Like I know that we have customers here at XR that to get a PO through their vendor management processes, it can take 30 days plus. So
Yeah.
9 days is probably even more aggressive than what they currently have. And then after a co-pilot, you can get that less than a day, 8 times faster or even more. Like I said, the data quality, having duplicate bad vendor percents, those types of things. The accuracy goes up from 6% to after the co-pilot, 0.8% or less than 1%. Your processing cost for the vendor master effort and to go through, the cost of that can go from 100% down to 75%. So you're getting faster, more accurate, and in less cost. Your compliance gaps, you should be near zero because you're checking all those things and rules and policies that you have in place. And then your vendor satisfaction, auditability, your vendor satisfaction is low today because of these issues and timing and delays. It's one click. It's going to go through and fall through the whole process.
Yeah, that's cool.
Almost like a project manager managing the whole vendor management process and going through is having this electronic employee.
Right. And it's funny because I'm a huge believer that process can fix a lot of things. And I always highlight how important project management is. It's kind of, for I think for finance people, it's kind of one of those things we put on the side. But no, it really can make a difference and have a big impact. So
Right.
again, we're in an interesting time. We're in a transformational time, and people are always trying to understand, you know, what really AI is and what AI can do and what it can do in the Office of Finance. You know, I've probably said this to you before in the past or shared with you. I'm a huge believer, very broadly, that AI isn't going to replace people. People that use AI are going to replace people that don't. And so I bring that up because we kind of start talking about how the ownership of the vendor process has shifted, right? Is that to some degree you're going to move away from humans to AI, but how does that relationship work?
Yeah, so we can best to go through some of these tasks that
Sure.
go through the vendor process. So in the beginning, to kick off after a vendor is going to become a vendor, you have to there's data that needs to be collected. Typically, these are done still through email, if you can believe that or not. It's not like and then or you have to go to all these different portals and talk to people manually, and you have to log in, you have to get passwords, you have to get all those different things. So that's before. It's generally through email because that's, you don't have to create all the logins and all that. Then you're going through. So after you get a co-pilot, the AI it'll invite you into a portal and invite you to be able to see that and tell you where to go. Then you have the verify the tax IDs and things like that. That typically was going through an AP clerk today, and then tomorrow AI can go through and collect your tax IDs and things like that. Then it can validate the docs and expiries. That's typically, spreadsheets of things going back and forth. And now you can have AI and alerts and have it in the portal. You can create that ERP vendor record. It's a manual key in, sometimes by a procurement person. It can go AP as well. It depends on the organization. Well, now AI can auto post that. You don't have to do that anymore. Dispatch PO. The buyer emails a PDF. AI sends it, and is the current process is the buyer emails the PDF out, and then you have to record that you got the PO, and then you keep going through the process. Going forward, AI can send and track that PO that goes out. Answer the status queries. So there's often queries on where things are at and all that. That's phone, email, all that stuff. Now you can just log into the portal, or you may even be able to talk right to the AI down the road. Is the goal is that a lot of these questions and status and things like that, it's available. And there's different channels that you can get that from AI that will send you the actual status. The remittance advice. AI will auto notify, so you don't have to manually go out and say where the payments are and all that. Maintain, again, the audit trails are key here with a hash chain ledger. That's the new way after Copilot versus trying to just figure out where everything's at and the changes in a shared drive.
Sure. Yeah, the one that kind of gets me really excited is when you're talking about the status queries, right? And moving to a world where we've got just natural language processing, right? Is all of a sudden we just ask a question, and it just answers. I mean, we have it. Find it fascinating, in the sense that we have this functionality, and I won't use either name because they can hear me right now. But we have tools that we can ask questions to, you know, um, you
hmm
know, and to get, I just think that's a huge opportunity we're going to have going forward because again, we run into it on our daily basis. You're doing something, you have a question about anything, and you just literally just ask, with that name, and basically get the answer to the question. You didn't have to
hmm
call anyone, you didn't have to do a search, you didn't have to do any kind of a query. And I just think, that to me is an area that we've got a tremendous amount of potential that really impacts people's jobs.
Yeah, exactly. The amount of time we spend just trying to figure out where things are at and what's going on and getting those straight answers. There'll still be problems in the beginning, so it's not going to be perfect. And I'll iterate that there's always like you can get a bad status from a person today. But as we get better and better at the AI and it learns and it figures things out and your processes get more refined, this will get easier. And at least you don't have to wait overnight or wait for the status or wait or try to play phone tag with somebody. You can get an answer and then make a decision.
Right, because I mean, again, with the natural language tools that we have available to us, it doesn't say, "Hey, I'll get back to you in a half an hour." Right,
Right.
and so, like I said, it's one of those areas that, for myself personally, like I'm really excited about because the technology exists. It's just being able to incorporate it into the business environment. Um, let's see here as I'm thinking. So, how about in your view, what specific capabilities have enabled these gains?
Yeah, so in my view, the things that have really enabled these gains is having a streamlined onboarding wizard. That vendor setup takes time today, and you can get that in less than 10 minutes. The
Oh,
automated automated identity verification. If you have fraud, duplicates, and blockers, that's the practical outcome. It will detect that. The doc validation, you don't have to have a person go in and look at a W-9, the COI, the bank, and make sure that everything's there. You'll have compliance on it's an autopilot.
yep.
Real-time status portal, we talked about in length. The vendors can see the PO payment path. There are portals today, so I wouldn't say we don't have them, but there's too many and it's hard to go. This is ability to really go to and get your status in a quick, efficient way. ERP sync, so there's a single source of truth versus spreadsheets that might have all your vendor management on it. Your PO dispatch and tracking, making sure that there's zero lost PO disputes. That's the
True.
goal here. Automated remittance and feedback, getting 70% fewer status emails, or like how many people don't even like I can't even look at my email. There's so many emails now, I can get through them all. So if the more we can get into these process flows and
Yep.
instead of the communications part of the process versus emails and phone calls and things like that, it's going to make our jobs a lot better. Flexible workflows and alerts, exceptions by BU arrests. So if there's exceptions, we can be alerted and get those automatically. And then we talked a little bit about, or quite a bit about the audit trails and things that
Yep.
you have here. You have the SOX evidence in one click. You don't have
Yep.
to try to go figure it out from a shared drive. And then getting it to one portal, and this is a problem we have here at XR, actually, we have multiple ERPs. So
Yep.
having multi-entity and multi-ERP, having it unified across the ledgers and having one view is a key success factor.
That's really important. Excellent. So I think a fair question, that we're all dealing with, and the way I look at it is, we're finance first and technology second people. So one of the things I think that's key to the audience is what is the competitive differential, right? Like, how does Hyperbots stand apart on vendor management?
Yeah, Hyperbots stands apart. It's built with number one, I'm going to say before I even get into all the different details and things is that it's AI first. It came out
Yeah.
when AI was really taking headwind and we had the ability to do it. It's not coming from an ERP space and trying to add AI to it. This is AI first. And from your speed, it's taking minutes to do AI verified versus days of manual review. It's really looking at what AI can do from a process standpoint versus trying to use your traditional methods and things. So, doing identity sanction checks, those things, Hyperbots, it's built in, it's automated versus having to manually or do an external lookup. That process is skipped because you're able to do it automated way. Learning loop models improve each cycle versus you just have static rules that are in a portal today, maybe is the
Yep.
traditional vendor portal or RPA. It's however you set it up, and if there's any anomaly, it's going to break or not work. With Hyperbots, it improves every cycle, and it agentic actions, creating the vendor ID, dispatching the PO, pushes remittance. That's the vendor co-pilot from Hyperbots. Today, you only can get a portal can only display some data that's static. A pricing model, how you pay per active vendor, no seat fees versus your license plus seat user seats. So this is a key is that you're just paying per the vendor. So the pricing's a little bit different, but it's where the value's at in the process. And then the audit trail, instead of scattered attachments and trying to find all the details and things, you have the hash chained, excuse me, the implementation. It's a 3 to 4 week rollout. And this is key is because it can take you the implementation of other vendor management tools and things is 3 to 6 months or even longer in some cases, and then it doesn't continually improve afterwards. This is a 3 to 4 week, and then you're going to continue to get better. The multi ERP support, generally you have to build each of the ERP connections and things. We have native connectors on the Hyperbot side. So in short, Hyperbots goes beyond just your file upload portal. It thinks, verifies, posts, and notifies, and all without adding headcount or license sprawl.
Right, which is so important, right? That's the first thing people want to understand. I think one of the real key points that you put in there was, this was built AI first. And so like I said, it's interesting. You talk to enough people, you see, it's kind of like retrofitting, right? Right. So the way I put it, so maybe this is an interesting comment, maybe it's not, but I bought a car recently that was built first to be a plug-in hybrid. So the technology on it is very different than a car that was gasoline powered. That they said, okay, now how do we make it a plug-in hybrid? And I think
Mhm.
that's how I think, and I think that's kind of what Hyperbots has been able to do, because it's not like, well, how do we? This is how we built it. How do we now integrate AI
Yeah.
into it rather than AI being really the DNA of the entire system?
Yeah, most systems out there today are really everyone's trying to do AI,
Yes.
but they're like, how do we have AI do the current process that's already happening versus how can we do this in a different way and do it from an AI perspective, versus just adding it as a feature or functionality and charging, oh, you can do AI, but
Yeah.
this is a little bit different in how it goes about. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, you're trying to integrate, right? So I think we've talked before. My background's in engineering. It's like it's very different when you build first versus you have something and you're trying to make it do something else. So
Yeah.
I think that's really key. I guess, hey, thanks for all the insight and thoughts. Do you kind of have a comment just to kind of sum up the little discussion we've had today?
Sure. The vendor onboarding that once took 9 days or longer, sometimes 30 days to finish, and can now finish in hours with compliance risk that's virtually disappeared. The suppliers can get real-time visibility, and Hyperbots Vendor Management Co-Pilot, it makes that happen without a human babysitting.
I like that term, babysitting. Well, John, any final thoughts? If not, thank you so very much for your time. I know the audience really appreciates you sharing your experience and your insight with them. Um, I don't have any more questions for you, so I've had a great time. I've learned a lot, so thank you. I'll let
Yeah,
you have final comments, sir.
yeah, thank you for having me and look forward to more discussions in the future.
Great. Be well. Thank you. Take care, all.
Thank you.